Hello people, we're back again. This time we're going back to talk about Star Wars. More importantly, the Star Wars book lineup has been announced. Ever since Disney said everything going forward will be part of the canon going forward, everything they do. And obviously, one of the things they also said that I didn't get to in the video was the only canon right now is the last 6 Star Wars movies and the Star Wars Rebels series. Everything else that's been done before, they do not consider part of the Star Wars canon. But everything done after this point, after this point now, will be considered part of the official canon. So, the first novel in this they announced was no surprise to anybody. It ties into the Star Wars Rebels anime show that's going to be on TV, and basically it is a book that tells the story how the two heroes of the series met, Kana Jarrus and Hera Syndulla, how they crossed paths, and the book, of course, is receiving input from the executive producer of Rebels, and of course, will be released both digitally and in print in September 2nd of 2014. That's obviously what I call the most uninteresting of the books coming out, because the next book I'm going to talk about is something I'm very interested, being a fan of the original Star Wars trilogy, of course, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Gotta put that out there, because sometimes you say original, people start thinking of the prequel series. So, it is Star Wars Tarkin. Now, Tarkin was, of course, which delves in the life of Empire's most notorious General Moffat, because if you remember watching the first Star Wars movie, he was the one who said, who was confident about the Death Star, and he was the one who was like, could control Vader, or get Vader to do things for him in that first movie. He's a very, obviously evil character, an interesting character, and so you're going to get a book about him coming out in November 4th. The next book, Star Wars Heir to the Jedi, comes out January 15th, and this is about Luke Skywalker's first-person account of events between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. So, it'll be interesting to see what they add to that little wrinkle to that book that you may not know from the movies, or may have, they considered happened in that. So, if you want to read a Luke Skywalker book from that era, then that will be out for you. And the last one is Star Wars Lords of the Sith, available March 2015, which finds Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader stranded on an inhospitable planet where they must rely solely on each other, the Force, and their awesome martial skills to prevail. So, maternal skills to prevail. So, again, that is a more interesting story when you look at it, like something different between those two being stranded on a planet. First of all, how they get stranded on a planet, and how they survive. That'd be interesting. What the kind of payoff for that book is, because you read that, you think, interesting they're in a planet together. Interesting that they're going to show. Obviously, it's going to deal with both of them, their relationship, obviously, but what else are they going to wrinkles they're going to put in that story, right? Because they've got to continue to something. Listen, we're going forward with these new books being like the foundation for what's going forward. Could there be other books related to these down the road? And so, if you want to look at Tarkin book, shows, of course, Tarkin and Darth Vader on the cover. The Luke Skywalker book shows Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker. I mean, the painting looks just like him with the lightsaber in his hand. And Lord of the Sith, of course, shows Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine with stormtroopers looking like they're being around him. So, with the establishment of the Lucas story group, with an even greater kind of focus on unified storytelling, you expect it to be more compact writing. In other words, you expect everything to be in a night, these fits in this timeline thing, not something that would not fit in a certain timeline. Since there's a group to keep track of, and this is one of the things a lot of big franchises has, is keeping the timeline straight. That if you don't have people to keep it straight, it becomes a kabobbled mess after a while. So, what do you think about those books that are coming out for the Star Wars, and that they're now going to be part of the official canon? And all the other stuff's thrown out the window that's from the past. And I know some people have strong connections. Listen, I was one of the people when the first new book series of Star Wars that took place, the original characters from New Hope to Return of the Jedi, came out, that took place several years later. I bought that series and bought several books after that because it was a continuation of the story. And I understand what Disney is doing here, aka Lucasfilms, is they want to write their own story for the future. And so, in order to do that, and be surprising, by the way, because if they were just tied to the inherent stories in the books and stuff, then you would already kind of know what's coming up. And they'll be able to use things from past books, obviously, and things that people love, but add new stuff to it. So, what do you think about it? Any of these books interest you at all that you might, as a Star Wars fan, you may want to read? Or are you like when it says, those aren't what I'm interested in? What book would you want to read what kind of book would they have to make for you to want to read it if none of these books interest you? Anyway, guys, like always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.